Thank everyone for coming. Quick shout out to our FFA program and team for providing some flowers up here. This is FFA week, so I want to thank them. With that, I want to let's stand for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance. Now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we start the review of the agenda, I would like for Judge Neal to come up and swear our two new board members in. Mr. Bennett and Walter head up front.
How are you all today? All right, if you want to just stand, you can just stand anywhere you want, actually, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
No, it does not matter, wherever you want.
He's going to be close to you.
I don't.
Okay.
You've been the only person that said that to me in a long time. All right, if you'll raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, so long as you continue to be a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of Clark County School Board member according to law? And do you further promise and swear that being a citizen of this Commonwealth, that you have not fought a duel with a deadly weapon within it, nor have you sent or accepted any challenge to fight a duel with a deadly weapon, nor have you aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
All right, congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you.
They're sworn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, would like to welcome Mr. Dorsey. This is his first meeting, and Mr. Bennett, I think this might be your second.
Yeah, second regular meeting.
Okay, so welcome. Looking forward to working with you all. So on to the agenda items. Review of the agenda and adoption of the agenda. The only change that I'd like to make is item 3, where it's on staff recognition, where we're just going to mark that out where Ms. Bush is unable to attend, and we're going to have a staff recognition, and Ms. Ashley Ritchie is going to present that tonight.
Y'all better be scared.
Do I have a motion to, any more discussion or adoption, or any more motion for the agenda? Discussion of the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Have a motion by Ms. Ritchie to adopt. Do I have a
I'll
second? Second by Mr. Bennett. All in favor? Aye. Passes. Everybody vote aye? Passes 5-0. Okay.
Been first time in a while.
It's first time in a while for 5. Okay. Consider approval of minutes for January 24, 23 regular meeting and February 15th, 2023 special meeting. Mr. Bennett, was you there at the 24th at both of those meetings? You think you were?
Was there at one, I think? One of the two?
I know you were there on the 15th.
Yeah.
Let's just find out real quick,
That's
okay?
what I
It
was.
looks like he was here on the 24th.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Having so much fun, you don't even know when you're here and when you're not.
All right. I'll make a motion to adopt those minutes on the 24th and 15th.
Second.
Second by Ms. Ritchie. All in favor? Aye. We'll have you abstain on that since you wasn't here.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
I got you.
Passes 4-0. All right, next on to staff recognition. Ms. Ritchie.
Okay, we do not know the story, so we are going to need this individual to come and actually inform us of the story that goes along with this. But we are recognizing Mr. Billy Dameron tonight. You are recognized on your outstanding teddy bear rescue skills. That was the cutest thing ever, and I only got to see it right before I got here, so it was a little short notice, but Yes, well done on we must rescue the teddy bears. And Bill wants to know how the teddy bear got up there.
On the roof,
We
yeah.
haven't gotten that story, but Mr. Markham said that the little girl went home in tears on Friday, so when we showed up to school Monday, that was the first thing she asked for. So we called and we went and got the teddy bear, stuffed animal, and about 15 balls off the roof. So it should have been a bunch happy.
But we have no idea how the teddy bear got up there.
No.
Wow. Thank-
Well, thank you for getting her teddy bear.
Thank you. Next item, presentation of Campbell's University Excellence in Teaching Award. Ms. Kelly Pippin.
Good evening. Campbellsville University sponsors an excellence in teaching program that recognizes quality teaching and learning taking place in school systems throughout Kentucky. Clark County Public Schools is excited to engage in this opportunity to recognize some staff of our very own. There is a 3-tiered process that we use to narrow down our staff, and we are very excited to recognize 3 individuals. One of them are unable to be with us tonight, but representing our preschool and elementary division, we would like to announce Miss Brandy Faulkner.
I don't know where you want to stand, is this good? You're the star, you tell us. Oh, we got one more, hold on a second, we got one more, there's got one more here. Papa. We're not going anywhere till that man takes a picture. Look at that beard, that's beautiful.
I knew
Congratulations.
And representing our middle school division is Miss Lauren Whitaker. There we go. Congratulations. Thank you.
Now they figured it out, they're right.
And our high school division was Miss Shanda Crosby, and she is at representing our high school basketball team right now. So,
Congratulations.
thank you all.
Next up is we have a community presentation from the Clark County Equity Coalition, Ms. Donna Carter and Silent Drake Mates.
Good evening. My name is Donna Carter. I'm a Winchester resident and parent, and I'm excited to introduce the Clark County Equity Coalition. The Equity Coalition is a vision to assist Clark County schools and parents to ensure equal and meaningful preparation for all children utilizing proactive measures. We're still in the building stage, and our goal is to take the summer to establish our norms, how we're going to operate our structure and our group, that we may be an asset to Clark County schools in the upcoming school year. Our first, and you can see that on the timeline on the slide. Our first project is to build a program to train translators utilizing GRC seniors who are bilingual, providing not only a resource and support, but leadership and postgraduate opportunities. We have a plan for sourcing corporate sponsorships to fund this program. Our hope is that we can help bridge some of the gaps in regards to diverse representation by assisting with recruitment, providing support, and engaging the community. Often when we hear the word equity, we think of race and gender. Very important, but we also have students with disabilities, students who come from various socioeconomic backgrounds, and that affects all groups and cultures in our county. We also have students who speak various languages. Our hope is that we can assist in bridging some of these gaps so all of our children have equity in access and opportunity. On the next slide, you can see our origin story, which you can read on your own. It is in the packet of information. But in summary, we're a group of parents, grandparents, and individuals who reside and or work in Clark County who believe in being proactive and had similar concerns regarding equity and access for all of our children. I also share a little bit about my story of being a parent here in the county when I was faced with my own discomfort for the lack of representation in our schools and reading data referencing the discomfort some of our teachers felt with incorporating content from different cultural backgrounds into the curriculum. At that point, I had a decision to make. I had to deal with my own biases, and I had to decide to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. We all have a collective responsibility to develop our future leaders, so we have to be okay with not knowing all the answers and remain curious about our differences, which then allows us to find room for resolution. The next slide shows the difference between equality and equity, right? So when we think of equality, it means every individual is given the same resources. But when you think of equity, it recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. For some, it may be translation services, others a mentor, and for others, it means a healthy breakfast. Equal treatment does not produce equity when conditions and circumstances are very different, as demonstrated in this picture. We are striving for equity. I would also like to share how we as a coalition will operate. We will assume positive intent, because it's really not as much about intent as it is about impact to our children, to all of our children. When we focus on intent versus impact, we negate the harm that has been done and try to avoid the discomfort we may feel. As a coalition, we strive to be committed to self-evaluation and self-critique as we do this work to provide brave spaces for parents, students, teachers, and staff to build relationships in an effort to make sure all of our children, regardless of race, gender, ability, socioeconomic status, all of them, receive a meaningful diploma. We want our children to stay or to leave and come back to Clark County to be our future leaders. In order to do this, we must couple this work with a lot of grace for one another and action. We are excited to be an additional resource for the Clark County community and school district. Will the coalition members who are here, please stand so you can see who they are? And Vache is over there. I will leave you with a quote from the KDE Commissioner, Dr. Jason Glass. Our efforts to promote equity in Kentucky schools are essential if we are to realize our aspirations of providing a meaningful and quality educational experience for every child. Thank you.
Next item is public comments. Do we have any public comments back there written down? Hey,
We need to train Watkins up.
Mr. Watkins, can you check? He's just smiling. Oh, no.
Thank you.
No comments? On the student support services, consider approval to accept the bid or rebid the Robert D. Campbell Junior High School Gymnasium Bleacher Replacement Project. Mr. Donald Stone.
Good evening. It's really great to see full house sitting at our board once again. It's been a while. To refocus your thinking on facilities for a moment, we have approached the board in the past and solicited approval to replace the bleachers at RDC Junior High School. We contracted with Ross Tehran Architects to draw the designs and put out to bid that project. We recently opened bids, and we received one bid at the bid closing from Atlas for $274,131. That's a big difference.
Yeah, I was gonna be all in, dog, you had me.
Had a motion.
Yeah.
5-0 quick. Right? So what we'd like for the board to consider tonight is either accepting that bid or consider, as the motion suggests, rebidding it. We had one vendor that submitted a bid that did not complete all of the requirements of the bid package, so we had to reject it, and we had another one that submitted a bid a day late. And we're aware of another vendor, at least, that is interested in the project, but at the bid time, it was just inappropriate for some of these to bid. So the architects would like for you to consider rebidding this project out and seeing if we can't get a little more competitive pricing with this project, given that we're not in a real big hurry to replace these. We can certainly do it over the summer, so that's what we'd like for you to consider.
Is that your recommendation?
It would be my recommendation as well, sure.
I mean, if we've got other parties interested in bidding, that makes a difference. Sounds like we've got 2 to 3 more, so I tend to agree with him.
Did Atlas do the bleachers at Baker?
They did, they were the low bid on that project,
Okay,
but we had 2 bids at that time.
2 bids.
How long will it, at the next board meeting, will we have the new bids in by then?
Our intent would be to bid it immediately after this board meeting, to put it in the paper and rebid it for that.
So the March board meeting, we should have,
That would be our expectation.
Well, they did a really good job at Baker, so I hope we do not upset them by this, but,
Josh is happy with us, yeah.
yeah, I mean, they look great.
Now, Campbell will require will it be both sides?
That's
of
right,
the-
it'll be both sides. The upper mezzanine is permanent bleachers, that will, we're not
Right.
replacing those. And the end zone bleachers are still in a really good shape, so we're not proposing to replace those, but it would be the 2 sides.
Okay.
For the same amount of seating and pretty much the same design. We've only included stairways to get up to the upper mezzanine.
Okay.
We felt that was important to continue that access up into that upper mezzanine from the bleachers area, so.
This may be a really stupid question, but you said one didn't finish the paperwork. How hard is that to do?
It's a pretty complicated process. You have to cross all your Ts and dot your Is, make sure your bonding's in place, and they didn't quite have everything dotted and crossed. But it was an interesting bid, so we just couldn't, based on the rules of procurement, we just couldn't accept the bid.
Mr.
Just
Howard, what's your opinion?
I think because of the timing of the project, I'm good with going ahead and rebidding it. Even, we don't always have to take the low bid, we just have to have a reason. So that doesn't automatically, my one concern is when you have a bid that's kind of already been put out, if you're coming in late as a bidder, you know what that number is. So I think we have to be cognizant of that. But I think, I think we can rebid it, and then if we still feel like we, are happy with the quality of work we would give, but until we have those bids, we don't know what we're comparing it to.
Just a side note, Atlas was the company that did our high school as well, and our gymnasium and our high school. All those bleachers were provided by Atlas.
Did a great job there, too.
Sure, Wheelhouse, what do you think?
They did a good job, yeah, but it doesn't take that long to, you could get another one out. Are the bids gonna be in, everywhere, not just in Kentucky or
We post them,
national?
that's correct.
Okay, yeah.
In fact, some of the companies were from, I think South Carolina was one of the companies, and another one was from Indiana.
Pretty
what's-
close to here, not too far, please.
So what's the timeline on the project that we're trying to push for to get this completed, like in the summer of this year?
Well, we're hoping in the summer, but we may have some conflict with the group that's coming in the summer using the gymnasium for that week or 2. We're a little concerned about that time frame. So if we can work around that, we're hoping that in the summer, given the lead time on the bleachers, sometimes the bleachers come in quickly, sometimes they do not. So as soon as we place the order and we actually honor the bid or award the bid to a vendor, they can place the order. And then we'll just have to see how much the lead time is for the particular product. Different companies have different products. This particular product's Hussey. All the other vendors have different bleacher products, so their lead times would be different. So it's hard to project that without understanding which vendor you've selected.
I'd just like to have something to compare it to.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I would think Christmas at latest, very possibly the summer.
I like to make a motion to rebid upon the RDC High School Gymnasium Bleacher Replacement Project.
We have a motion by Ms. Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bennett. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item's consider review of the GRC Emergency Action Plan. Mr. Brendan Watkins.
Good afternoon. So you guys probably all remember, not too long ago, back before the Super Bowl, there was a Buffalo Bills player that had an injury and was ultimately, probably his life saved because of the use of an AED and having an athletic trainer, be there to administer first aid right on the field. And so we and the board thought that it would be a good opportunity for us to kind of share the high school emergency action plan with you all, with the public, so that folks can see what a good job our schools do in planning and preparing for things that could happen. And I want to also, real quick, before I let our athletic director, Mr. Ritchie, share that with you all, is thank you for your commitment to having an athletic trainer for our student athletes. I think that's been, we've got one and another one that works PRN with our students, and not everybody is as fortunate as we are to have that athletic trainer for our kids, and it's a big need right now. So thank you all.
Good evening, everybody. Like he said, I'm going to be going over the emergency action plan that we have at GRC. So I'm not going to read all this off to you. It's sort of wordy, but it's all online if you're interested in getting on there and looking over the PDF. We also have the PowerPoint slides that you all can review. But with this slide, it just basically tells you the roles within the emergency team, establishing safety, activation of EMS, the emergency equipment such as AED retrieval, and then directions of EMS to the scene. And you'll see that a little bit later on in the slide. Here we have the locations of the AEDs. So they're all throughout the school, through all facilities. The only one you don't see up there right now is the tennis courts, and we're going to work on getting one at the tennis courts. But where there's one not permanently located, our coaches do have one to travel with. So everybody's good and safe. This is just a basic plan of the emergency action plan. First, calling 911 and so on, saying your name, just a basic protocol that anybody would do when you call. Then the most important thing highlighted at the bottom is you don't hang up until the dispatcher says to do so. And then right here is a protocol if we have the athletic trainer coverage at the event, which over 90% of the time we always have an athletic trainer, especially now with the PRN that Mr. Watkins was telling you all about that we have added on with our service. So this is the protocol that you can see that's with the trainer. And then the very next one is going to go over the protocol without the trainer. And it's pretty similar. It's just whenever the trainer isn't there, either the athletic administration, such as myself or an assistant principal, whoever's covering the game, the coaches, assistant coaches will be administering the plan.
And there you're pretty much talking about when we have overlapping contests. It's about the only time that we wouldn't have a trainer somewhere.
Yep. And right here you see general guidelines. It just goes through like the responsibilities, like the head coach, assistant coaches, and people that would be at the event and what they would do at the emergency. And this is just a continuation of the same event if and in an emergency. And then this is just continued information here. And then right here is an important one, the location of sport venues. And you're going to see multiple pictures here. And it's easily seen to where you can see which gate to go into exactly if emergency medical staff need to arrive at one of our events. There you can sort of see the red line coming down into this gate right here to the softball field. And then at the baseball field. And then up here at the arena. That would be the quickest and easily available place to go into. And then right there's the tennis courts, which they would just drive straight back to the courts. And then one more is at Strode Station, which we do have a team that practices over there. And we have an occasional game or two over there as well. Right here's in case of like serious injury, stoppage of breathing, severe bleeding, and heat stroke, stuff like that. It's more of your serious injuries, and it goes over those examples and procedure, which I won't go through all those for you, but do know we do have a procedure in place. That just continues. Talks about like assistant coaches stepping in when needed and gathering information. And right here's just other injuries that might come up. The coach or athletic trainer in charge, and they determine like how serious the injury could be, what exactly happened, and what to do from there, and getting all the important information such as insurance and stuff like that. This is going over just minor injuries, which injuries that can be treated in the school's training room, such as minor cuts, bruises, and so on, and just procedure that they cover doing that. And then here's another big one, the severe weather policy. This is an activity that delays an event, either the sound of thunder or whenever you physically see lightning. And then our trainer does a really good job. She tracks it using new technology with the apps. So when she sees lightning coming in, even though you don't see it or hear it, if it's close enough within the vicinity, that she is directing traffic out of the event and getting everybody to a shelter. And then that's just a continuation of the longer version of what I just said. Right here is the protective shelters. So at the Cardinal Stadium, we've got the locker rooms and under the stadium seating. Basically any event, we always have a locker room we can go to, concession stand, the field house, and so on. And that's in any sort of protective shelter that we may need, whether it's weather or something else. And then the last slide is the heat injury. There's a lot of information on this one, so I did post a link you can go to because it gets very detailed. But we do track that and are very cautious of heat injuries. Thank you.
Discussion?
I'd like to ask Mr. Watkins, this is wonderful. I love the way it's laid out, and it's very specific to athletics, but we have a lot of things that go on at GRC that aren't necessarily athletic game. I think of the band competitions we have in the fall. I mean, this is really important information. I've volunteered and been in the first aid tent. Had no idea that there were AEDs anywhere, and that is a situation where there could be the last band competition. It was really warm that day, and we had a couple of people we had to administer first aid to, like put ice on them and that sort of thing. How is this information translated to groups such as our band and our ROTC are the two that are coming to mind, because they also, the ROTC does a lot of outside events.
Do you want to
Yeah,
speak to that?
all of that is, at the beginning of the year, all this information is given out to all the sponsors or coaches. And then we actually have a coaches meeting at the beginning of the year where everybody's invited and going over that. And then if somebody can't attend, I try to get with them individually and go over that information. But anybody that is using the facility, we try to tell them where exactly that stuff is located. So in case of an emergency, they can go and get it.
Because I think that communication, maybe, in the future, it sounds like the people who are there volunteering don't necessarily know these things. Like I actually, when I was looking for the AEDs and just couldn't find them, but that was, I've done that a couple of years. So, I'm really happy that we have them. It's wonderful, and this is a beautiful plan, and it's good to know that. I just want to make sure that everybody that uses our facilities are aware of that, especially if they're trained in our ROTC sophomores and up. They are actually certified in first aid CPR and know how to use an AED. So it's important for them to know that too.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and if there are some, if we're hosting some events, like especially a band competition, things like that, we can most definitely make sure that those folks, and I'm sure they probably know, but sometimes that information doesn't always get passed on
Right.
to volunteers, so we just make sure that
Right.
we make sure that happens.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So I'm just got a question, and to follow up on Ms. Hall, first of all, I love the fact that we have a procedure that is given to everyone that needs it at the beginning of the year, and thankfully our district has the ability to have AEDs throughout the district. What I'd like to know is, you have a meeting, and like anything, you might have a plan, but if you don't go through this plan, you don't practice this plan, how good is the plan? Okay? So, do you have drills, or has that been a thought to include like our EMS team, you know, in Clark County, and have simulations on, in certain areas? Because, you know, like Mr. Watkins opened up with, up in Cincinnati, that young man that was playing, seconds mattered, they drilled that. You know, I know we don't have the resources for, you know, everyday drills, but, you know, they knew what they were gonna do right off the bat. You know, they didn't have to try to think from 3 months ago when I was given a document what to do. They just knew. So I just kinda see what your all's thoughts were, or have you done drills?
Now, I've not been part of any drills, but I can tell you that there have been a couple times where I've been administration at some events, and the proper protocols have been performed, like the athletic trainer going out, a coaching staff helping in, and then like administration getting the gate. Like it just automatically just goes out whether you think you know it or not. It just, everybody goes to the right spot, and then it's fluid motion. Everybody's like, the EMS is coming in, and just, I've been to 2 of them, and it's been flawless each time, and got the student on the ambulance and taken to the hospital.
It's just a thought that
Yeah.
drills, but, you know,
No,
once a year.
I think that's a good point. When 2 previous districts I've been in, we've worked with local law enforcement and EMS to actually kind of have a day where we go out, we walk through those, you know, those scenarios and events, and make sure, you know, people know where gates are at. People have keys to get in gates, you know, and we're all there on the same page. And then each coach is expected to kind of walk through it with their players. If I say, run, get me the AED, here's where it's at. Walk them over there and physically show them, you know. So those are some things, you know, obviously, you know, me being pretty new here, I'll work with Mr. Ritchie and make sure that we're up to speed on those things.
Yeah, it just kind of brought, you know, with what happened, it's brought a focus.
Yeah, oh, certainly,
So,
certainly.
Thank
And
you.
you're right. I mean, time is very important in those situations.
and I love the fact, I love how it's drawn out here, love the fact that, you know, we do have our AEDs where we need, we got traveling AEDs. So, thank you all for that.
Like, in RDC, do they have one in their gym, and do they play football in the old football field?
Yeah, they do. They have AEDs there at the gym, out at the football field.
Great.
How many do we have in the district altogether?
39 total.
39
Wonderful.
in all of our
And
schools. So,
RDC has a plan like this.
yes, they do. Yes, they do. Mr. Kincaid asked me if I wanted him to come and share tonight too, and I said, we've got a 3-page agenda. How about I fit you on sometime
Yeah.
later? But they do have a plan, yes, and we have talked about it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mr. Ritchie, I will say this, I have received numerous compliments on you throughout this year, and so, I've never got to officially meet you. Your name's awesome. But, yes, about you showing up at the events, they said this was the first time ever that they had an athletic director show up at an archery event. So it really
Busy
meant.
job, and I try to go everywhere I can.
Yeah,
It's all
well,
about the
it meant a
students
lot
that
to
give
those
support.
kids. They were super
Good.
thrilled,
Glad
so.
they don't have
One other question I'd written down, forgot to ask. What's the lifespan of an AED? And if it's after it's used, can it be used again? Or do you replace it with a new one?
The pads have an expiration date on them, and
Uh-huh.
then, so we have the athletic trainer goes through, and then I forget his name, the person we just hired, he's going through and walking through and making sure everything's up to date.
Okay.
What was it? Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just actually had contracted with a company to come in and service all of them.
Okay.
And make sure that they were up to date, good batteries, good pads, all of that stuff. So Ms. Bush has been helping with that at the other schools and locations, non-athletic, you know, sites that we have AEDs.
Awesome. Any other questions, discussion? Thank you. Thank you.
I do have one quick question. We have an update on the girls' game?
They were up by 7 in the first quarter, the last time I looked.
Just want to make sure.
Next item, consider and review school playground inspection reports and approval to bid improvements for Shear and Strode Elementary Schools not to exceed $500,000. Mr. Watkins.
All right, so we had a company come and inspect all of our playgrounds because, that is an area where accidents can occur, injuries, things like that with kids running and playing, and so we want to make sure that we have our equipment, up to par and as safe as we possibly can be for our students. So we got those reports back and it kind of categorized our playgrounds. And there were some issues on there that we were able to remedy immediately with our maintenance staff. And then there were two in particular that are kind of at the top of the list that had the most needs. I believe the board has set aside some money to and committed for school playgrounds. And so we are asking that the board give us the approval to take bids for those playgrounds at Strode Station and Shear Elementary. And we think it would be, playgrounds are expensive. When I moved up into administration, that was one of the things I was like, wow, they are, but they have to be in, safety compliance and things like that. And, we think 160 to 175,000 is probably more realistic for each when we bid those out. But with this, we're just asking for permission from the board to take bids to replace those two playgrounds.
If I understand this, we have already budgeted for this in our budget for this year?
That's correct. So and this was kind of the first, we're all about wage comparability studies. We're also about cycling, not only playground equipment, but furniture, roofs. So way back in the fall, most of you guys, so I'm saying this a little more in depth because some of you guys are catching up. We took $3 million and basically committed that to those rotation projects. And this was the first information we got to kind of prioritize. We just didn't want to have a principal wake up one day and say they needed playground equipment. Not that our principals do that, all right? And then I get a call the very next day from the other principal when we approved that to get new playground equipment. So we want to be very strategic and have data, but yes, so we have that $3 million. Once we have the bids, I think at least all they have to do is then uncommit that money for that project.
Well, it's already committed specifically for playgrounds, so
Okay.
this will just be where the source of the.
So it won't come out of contingency, it won't come out of the general budget, it's already set aside.
Okay.
Okay, I got a question. This is probably a Donald question. This mulch and stuff, or do we have the same mulch on all playgrounds?
Yes and no. When we refurbish mulch every year, we buy from the vendor, we look for competitive pricing, so we're not always working the same vendor, so. But we do put the same mulch we buy collectively at all playgrounds in any given year, from year to year.
Has it been something that, I got the high-risk baby, and so I never have said anything, but there are multiple kids complaining at Justice. When they go out on the playground, they can't breathe. Yeah, there's multiple, and,
They think it's mulch related?
oh yeah, and Kinsley doesn't have issues like Cash did. She's had nothing but trouble this year.
You're getting some nods out there in the audience too, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, certainly you use different woods for different mulches, so it could be very species specific that we look into.
yeah, it may be something to do some research on, see what kids are, because I know with Cash, I can't even think off the top of my head right now, but anyway, like I said, it got to the point he couldn't even go out to the playground anymore because it would trigger him into asthma attacks, so he'd have to sit there and watch everybody else play. Which, like I said, he's high risk, so we knew that going in there, but now it's becoming more and more common with more kids. And I don't know that Justice is actually the only playground that's having trouble.
Well, we would reorder it by bulk, so I think last time we had about 4 tractor trailer loads come in, we put it on all playgrounds,
So, yeah,
I think
that would make
the
sense.
inference is correct. If we would see something in one playground, we should see that in others as well.
Yeah,
I haven't had any complaints from principals at this point about related to that. I'm not aware.
yeah. I don't know, you may want to ask, and they may not realize that's what it is. Parents are realizing it, because when they come in, it's becoming a common denominator. When they go out, they're getting more and more clogged up because of all the stuff going around. So, I just see mulch on this list and it made, I kept meaning to say something to you about that mulch.
Do we use natural mulch? Or do we use natural mulch or do we use synthetic?
We use
natural
mulch. It's all playground certified. You have to get a certification and it is approved for playgrounds.
We don't have any playgrounds with synthetic.
Okay. Wonder what the price tag would be a lot higher, yeah. Okay.
It'd be higher, but I mean, I just wonder how many kids it could actually benefit. I mean, cause how many kids coming out of a COVID year and all that, coming out of all this COVID stuff and the kids having breathing trouble and
But there's a lot of reports that was concerned about synthetic mulch too.
is there,
Allergies, certain roads.
we'll figure it out, Don, find something to put on the playground. You know,
I'll bring that back to the board.
get out there and decorate it with something.
Any
I'll
other
let-
discussion?
Oh, no, I was gonna make a motion, but.
Okay, we have a motion?
I'm sorry. I was gonna make a motion to, bid out improvements for the school playgrounds at Sheridan Stroh Station Elementary Schools, not to exceed $500,000.
We have a motion by Ms. Hall.
Second. No, sorry, I'll let you do it, it's your
No,
first
it's
one.
okay.
Go.
I'll second.
That's second by Mr. Dorsey. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. All right, next item, consider approval to purchase 4 new school buses. Mr. Watkins.
All right, so our transportation department and the school bus fleet that we have is aging, and we do have some needs to order some new school buses. Right now is a good time to do that while we still have some of our federal funding from the ESSER money and the pandemic money. We have on here, and I attached in there 4 quotes for 4 new school buses, 2 transit or the flat nose or rear engine buses, 1 conventional and 1 special needs bus.
I don't see this on the agenda, but in our notes, the proposal is not to exceed $700,000. Does that sound correct?
I think that, is it, yes, okay, yes.
Okay. And with this, the question I have is, we haven't remaining ESSER funds to pay for this, and if so, do we have still, where do we stay with our, where are we with our ESSER?
So we're actually pretty good with our ESSER, even without this money. We're working on our ESSER plan that we'll bring to you probably next month. Because even though we get ESSER money for next year, it has to be spent by a certain timeline. But we have done an assessment, and this is well within our ESSER plan to support other needs, like Kagan moving forward, like some other instructional initiatives, even a social emotional-ish structure for the high school has been budgeted in, looking at DSD. So I feel really good. We're over $1 million still, I think, probably without the 700,000, so.
Okay. Any discussion? I'll make a motion that we approve purchase of 4 new school buses, not to exceed the $700,000.
Second.
Second by Ms. Ritchie. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. We got Mr. Watkins still up here. Okay,
I'm asking for a lot tonight, aren't I?
yeah.
I have to give you a peanut butter sandwich after a while.
I know. We were talking about this having peanut butter in the office.
All right, next item, consider approval to purchase bus lifts, 3 bus lifts for the transportation department, not to exceed $500,000.
So the lifts that we have are they're not up to par of where they should be. We recently had an inspection and they did not pass. Now we have some safety measures that we're adding into place by using extra jacks and things like that, but it's not a good long-term plan. So we have a quote there from a company that is on the State of Kentucky bid list, and we're asking for 3 new lifts to be put in. I think I have a pretty good understanding of how they work, but I've also got our transportation folks here that can give you more specific details if you all have questions about those.
This has been a need for a while, hasn't it?
Yes,
Like,
ma'am.
it's just been
It-
getting
it has.
Band-Aids
It
and-
has.
Right.
And then the lifts that we have are leaking so much hydraulic fluid, we're having to pump it into them quite a bit. So, just to keep them kind of going where they're at right now.
Yeah, I spent about 10 minutes, well, it's longer than that, this afternoon with them. I was here for another reason, and I saw it firsthand, and they did a fabulous job explaining to me the needs, and obviously these lifts are very old, and we want to ensure the safety of our staff. They do such a good job of keeping our buses maintained. We need to make
Yes.
sure that we have these things, that this needs to be done. I absolutely have no doubt that it needs to be done
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And the gentleman, I think he's here, that talked to me, I mean, if you all have questions, he answered all my questions, so explained to me how it works, and I had no intention of being at the bus garage, it just happened.
No.
Ryan is a mechanical expert on these.
Yeah. Right.
I can get you by, but he's an expert.
Oh,
so.
he is. He's just wonderful, wonderful. So I mean, I am ready to make a motion, but if anyone has another question,
Where's the bid at, Brandon?
It should be on.
That's the inspection.
That's the inspection.
It should have been attached. Is it on there?
It's not. I know it's on the state bid list.
Yes, they are a master agreement
So-
company, so it's someone you can move forward with immediately.
You have those? Okay.
Okay. We could
I
just,
thought they were attached.
we could just look at
Sister's
those.
an excellent babysitter.
huh?
His sister's an excellent babysitter. She was my child's nanny for years. She was she took care of Cash for
Oh, yes, please.
Can we take a
Just
5 minutes?
one.
Yeah, so with that, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess while copies are made. So we are adjourned at 7:18. We'll come back at 7:25. all of the board members now should have a copy of the quote from the company that's on the state bid list, meaning that you do not need to put this out for bid. Question, this will be coming, this would, if this is approved, this would come out contingency. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
If we approve this, this will come out of our contingency fund?
Yes, this will be contingency funds.
Any questions, discussion? I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 3 bus lists for transportation department not to exceed $500,000.
I second.
And second by Ms. Ritchie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Next item, consider approval to purchase a new stage system for special events program in amount not to exceed $12,500. Mr. Stein.
Well, for our newest board members, you're getting here ready soon to experience a very unforgettable moment, and that's about 400 students walking across the stage and graduating and shaking our superintendent and board chair's hands. A stage that we rent every year. So we usually start about this time of the year trying to secure a stage for rent. We pay in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $2,500 to rent it, and that includes the company coming and installing that and tearing it down when they leave. But it's getting to be pretty competitive. There's a lot of folks that are renting stages, and if we don't secure one at this time of the year, it's really frantic. We're calling all over the state and all over, and sometimes out of state to try to find stages. So we'd like to recommend to the board that you consider purchasing your own stage. Over the course of 5 or 6 years, the graduation ceremony in and of itself would pay for the stage. However, there are many events that we could also use this stage for. A lot of leases and our facility rentals could also lease our stage if they had an event that required such. But there's a lot of other advantages. I think we'll have experiences to utilize the stage at some point in the future with not only our children, but others as well. So for a little over $12,000, we'd like to ask the board to buy your own stage so we don't have to go through the rental process every year. And the stage, by the way, also includes ramps and skirting, everything except the big curtains on the back. So it's a pretty solid package, and our maintenance department would erect and tear down the stage annually for that event rather than paying somebody to do that.
Discussion?
So I'm gonna say, like, I keep bringing the band up just because that's been some of my experience. I go volunteer and so forth. So I could see this being useful when we have regionals. We host the regional band competition, and we are giving out awards to the different bands. And I mean, I could see that being a use for it. I guess though, what else would we use it for besides graduation and?
Well, anytime a school wanted to do an outdoor venue on certain grounds, we could utilize it for that. Any company or agency that would want to rent our facilities, and that's probably forthcoming. I mean, we're just a year or two into a facility that people are just starting to recognize exists out there. So
Right.
we're getting a lot of interest from agencies to come to Clark County and utilize our facilities in ways that we haven't even anticipated at this point. So we anticipate that those agencies not only would rent our facility, but also our equipment and stages or whatever we might have available. We could market that as a package.
When we built the athletic complex, we built it to also be able to hold concerts, stuff like that out there.
Oh, okay. Can this be used inside and outside?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
No, I will so make this motion. It
Ms.
has been needed forever.
We have a motion by Ms. Ritchie. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bennett. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Next item, consider approval to enter into a contractual agreement with Multa Vista Incorporated for the provision of photographic and monitoring documentation of the new Early Childhood Center project, DG 21-247, in the amount of $34,385.
Okay, this is a company that provides a very valuable service for our maintenance department. They come in beginning at the construction process, particularly related to our new preschool facility, our early childhood facility. They would come in at groundbreaking, taking pictures of foundation and building construction, doing a lot of exterior shots, making sure that we can hold the contractors accountable for their work, taking pictures of different stages of their work as it progresses. I've seen this company protect a lot of districts in regard to concrete not being poured right and years later cracking, and going back to the original pictures that they took and showing some flaws that didn't take place. And it just covers the school systems. It protects our liability in the construction process. They also go inside the building and at various stages take pictures of mechanicals, the plumbing, the electricals, so that if we need to go in and rewire something or to tap into a wire or to a plumbing that's stopped up, we can go to a virtual map of the school building and hit a certain wall in a certain location. There's pictures that associated with that spot that can show us everything that's behind those walls before they get erected. It's a very, very valuable service that benefits, and we've done this for several of our projects. So we'd like the board to consider engaging in that contract for our new early childhood center. Now, this year we thought we would consider also asking the board to do the webcam on the exterior of the building that has 24-hour service that would protect the equipment and all of the valuable materials that are on site, so we can have 24-hour access with a camera. So that this quote is really broken down into two pieces. One is what I mentioned to you about the pictorial part of it, all the pictures and documentation and mapping. The other is the webcam piece. The webcam piece is $16,885, but we're prepared to ask the board to not include that particular line item because our chief of police of the City of Winchester Chief of Police Hall has offered to put cameras on the site, 4 cameras on the site at no cost to our board. So that would, if we were to take the chief up on that offer, that would save us that $18,000, and we would only be asking the board for $19,000 for the other piece that I described to you earlier. Chief Hall's here if you have any particular questions about his camera systems and how that would play into the security of that site during the construction process.
And I'm 100% for, having cameras up all the time while it's going on.
I want to thank the chief for offering that, first of all, so appreciate that. We use this service for the high school, if I
We
recall
did,
right,
for the-
as well as the sport, athletic complex.
We did.
Okay. And this information is stored. Do we store it? Refresh my memory. How long do we have access to that storage? It's hours?
It belongs to us. They, at
Okay.
the end of the project, they give us the thumb drives, the products.
Okay, so it's
and
always ours.
We own that.
Okay.
Who monitors it? Does the chief, I mean, is it Singdown
With
Police
the
Department?
web cameras?
Yes.
Well, the architects certainly like to look at it. The construction manager has access
Right.
to those, and our chief of police said he could provide that access to those, to your construction manager and to your architect as well, but police are gonna monitor it
No, nice.
That's
in that regard.
Yeah.
Our local, our city police department.
So, with that offer, which we greatly appreciate, what was the total without the webcam?
Well, it's 17.5, but
Yeah.
but we got a $1,500 discount for packaging the two together.
Okay.
So I think they're going to add the 1,500. I would expect that they were going to add the 1,500 back to the pictorial package and bring it up to 19.
Okay.
So does someone come physically take the pictures?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there 20. It says on the
Yeah.
thing I shared with you how many.
24.
It's like 24 times a month. They'll come out and take pictures.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
Up
They
to
will-
24 monthly exterior progression shoots of the building.
They'll come out
site.
before any concrete slabs, any inspections, before anything gets covered up, they will come out and get pictures so you can have a 3D evidence.
and that would come. We're proposing that would come out of the contingency line item on the BG1 for that project, not out of your general fund.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good call out. Let's just go and make it 20, so we have a little buffer. Any other discussion? I'll make a motion to approve the contractual agreement with Multa Vista Incorporated for the photographic documentation of the new Early Childhood Center project, not to exceed $20,000.
I second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Stunt. Next one, next item, consider approval of quote for window safety coverings in the amount of $147,518. Mr. Watkins.
All right, so my last thing tonight. So we've attached a quote and some pictures from Minuteman Press with, it includes doing schools separately or doing all of them at once. Kind of that would be the prerogative of the board. But to add the safety film graphics, it would be designed with that school's logo, their colors. It would be each school, like on the main, on the front doors there, it would cover those so that somebody couldn't come up and see in. We actually took a group today to visit Johnson Central High School to look at a program that they're doing with their freshmen, and they had the graphics on all of their exterior doors, you know, as I was looking at today, with their black and yellow colors and their school design. So one of the things I think here, you know, there was a situation recently with a few months ago with and somebody, you know, looking in a school that shouldn't have been, and these are things that would kind of prevent folks from anyone from being able to do that, you know, that shouldn't, and kind of provide a layer of safety for our school buildings.
Discussion?
I'm all about it.
I'm gonna say that when my son was in first grade at Justice, I was like so very concerned about the windows because they're beautiful,
Yes.
but it's very accessible.
Yep.
And so this is, I think this is a great thing. I would think that we would want to do this for all the schools, right? I mean, I think it's very important for the safety and security of our children. It is. I think it also will maybe inspire some school spirit if they are in their colors and their.
Yeah.
And there, you know, we got our Jaguars and we've got our Cardinals and our Sharks. I love the shark. So, you know, I think that I'm very excited about this. And I appreciate you all taking the time to come up with this proposal for us.
It took quite a bit of time. Mr. Dameron had you know, took the guy around and measured everything. Yes, there are a lot of windows in schools, much more than you really think about till you start measuring them. But it took, I mean, we spent several days measuring these. And even, so all of our schools have the security vestibules. When you come in, you know, you buzz in that first area, and then there's a second set of glass doors. Well, oftentimes those are just clear and you can see right down the hallway into schools. So, you know, we would put the film on those as well so you couldn't see in. And yes, two purposes. I mean, first and foremost, above everything, safety and security. Second thing is it looks really good, and it's a form of branding and increasing, you know, school pride. So.
Absolutely. Do you have anything? I make a motion to.
We got a motion?
Yeah, to enter into. Oh, wait a minute. To approve the quote for window safety coverings.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next category, finance, human resources update. Acknowledgement of the monthly Clark County Public School financial update.
Good evening. Looks like I'm up here for a while. So every month you all are presented with our financials of where we're standing right now. And we're actually a little bit ahead in our receipts collection. Mostly thank you to our sheriff. He is at 98% collection for our taxes, so that is huge for us. And then our expenditures, we're down 1% from expenditure this time last year, so still really kind of spot on where we have been functioning. So any questions when you're on that side of things. We've got several discussion items tonight, or retain and recruit several items, so we'll get into all of those items here shortly. I've listed them out there for you.
Any call-outs that you need the board to be aware of? Any, because I didn't see anything, just want to make sure I didn't miss
No,
anything.
there's no major anything. I mean, we are tracking along like we have for the prior year. We are spot on to collect what we had budgeted, so that is good news. We did just get, or I don't have it in here because I just literally got it today. We did get our final SEEK calculation back of how we will end the year. We get to add $1,300 to our budget. They did a slight adjustment
Better
for.
go down.
Better go down. They did a slight adjustment for the transportation piece. It was
Okay.
$1,389, so we added that. But again, good news that it's up and not down.
It's a couple of Chromebooks. Okay, cool. Any discussion on that? Question? Okay. Okay, next is authorized payment and salaries and accounts payable.
So, as every month, we need to pay our bills and pay our salaries.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Motion by Ms. Ritchie, I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0.
Oh, thanks. I'll bring you some peanut butter.
Pretzel peanut butter bites, that's what he needs.
Okay.
All right, next item is consider approval of staffing allocations for fiscal year 2023 and 24.
Okay, so this time of year, every year, we are projecting of how we are going to staff for next year based on enrollment numbers. And we had to start somewhere. So we picked our first really kind of major report back to the state, the growth factor report on October 3rd. We really haven't had to do a lot of reporting from attendance because of COVID. We've been kind of locked at numbers. So that's kind of the first major report that our DPT office has done back to them. And so that we started with those numbers. So we had some hard enrollment numbers at that point. And with those, we actually are projecting district enrollment at 5,130, but tonight's numbers, Ms. Bush is already, or this month is 5,281, so we're actually already up. So, I mean, that's good news. So that means that the next staffing that we bring back to you at the April meeting is going to look a little different just because we know our numbers are already up. But based on what the information we have to give you tonight, we have changed the formatting a little bit. I hope it is more user-friendly for those who have seen the past ones. It's kind of new to three of you, but so the formatting is a little bit different, but we hope it makes it easier to read and understand how those class enrollments for each, and then ratios are broken out, and then the teachers provided to the schools based on that. So are there any specific questions that you all want to get into? I don't know how.
It is a lot easier to read. I'll give you that. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate Mr. Howard taking some time yesterday and explaining it to me, so I have a good understanding now, and I'm comfortable. I had all my questions answered yesterday.
So with that, you want to give us just kind of a high level for everyone? Say, you know, any particular areas that is going to be, that has to be addressed, or
Right,
the
so-
total, you know?
Okay, so, I mean, the nuts and bolts of it are based on enrollment ratio. It is a ratio-based formula. So based on that, it does show that we need to decrease our teaching staff by 19. That is board-funded positions that we have had on the books for the last 2 years, paid by federal funds that are getting ready to leave us. And we can no longer continue to fund those positions. So when you talk about those board-funded positions that we are not funding next year, and then what the enrollment numbers change to add positions, we're looking at 19 teachers. And that is driven by enrollment numbers. We know now that there's already 100 plus kids. I mean, so we're gonna see some of that 19 come back to us when we look at another month or two of the second round of staffing allocations. We've already had all these meetings. We've had 3 meetings actually with our principals, 2-3 meetings. So it's been discussed multiple times with principals of where they stand. They have federal dollars at their exposure, their Title I monies, their ESSER portion, that these 19 could be funded if that is the choice of the school, of the principal. And we've already been told a lot of them are gonna use their funding for that. So that's what they wanna do to continue the programming in their school for right now. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. But what that did is basically allowed us to reduce our budget by almost $1 million. And we have been overstaffed in the way the formula works by that $1 million. And we can't continue to sustain that with our federal dollars dropping off. However, we are going to come July, August, we're gonna sit down as an administrative team and look at our staffing allocation of how it stands right now and kind of make sure that we are on the right track, looking at some other districts and comparing ourselves that we like how our formula currently operates, or if there's some things we need to tighten down on it and look at. So, I mean, that'll.
By that time too, you'll have a probably better idea of attrition and
Correct.
who may be.
I mean,
Yeah.
Dr. Parrish has already, gotten a lot of responses, and some of this 19 is going to be taken care of in attrition.
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily let go that many people. They're choosing to leave on their own.
Yep.
And we're just not hiring that position back.
Through retirement or other positions somewhere else.
Correct.
Yeah.
I do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
So students at Phoenix Academy, are they counted towards either GRC or RDC?
They
or
are
is
not.
it-
They actually are pulled out and accounted for on their own, but they don't have an SBDM. So this is
Oh, okay.
SBDM staffing allocations, and so their allocation works is a little different.
Different, okay.
Same thing for preschool.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can deal with 19 better than 90.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because last year, we all, the board did decide last year to postpone kind of any cuts, so this is,
It's
much-
never fun.
Yeah, it's never
but-
fun, but
And
with
you-
attrition and everything,
Yeah,
it may not
I
be
think it'll
severe.
work itself
Yeah.
out.
And with this, we did not reduce special education staff. We actually increased it based on our needs. We've seen an increase in numbers. Ms. Mann has all that data, but, it actually warranted some schools getting additional teaching positions, which is what results in the net of the 19 positions, because we've taken some away and then we've added some in other spaces, so. it's-
Yeah. Well, and like you said, the principals have funding and they can, so I feel a whole lot better about that situation this year.
Any other discussion?
Yeah. Well done,
Comments?
guys.
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion, I've lost where we are, on the,
Staffing
to
allocation.
approve the staffing allocations for the fiscal year 2023, 2024.
And I'll second that. So we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Next is to consider discussion approval to request proposals for audit, primary banking and investment banking services.
So we have actually reached a time frame in all of our services and finance that we need to bid those services. We just ended a 3-year contract with our audit firm with this last audit of the past physical year, so we do not currently have an auditor for our current physical year, because they do that come September. They start kind of August, September into the next physical year, but it's auditing the prior physical year. So we actually need to bid those services to have an audit firm for this physical year. And so basically Ms. McCoy has read over all of these and is satisfied with the language in all of them. But basically it's bidding it for the one physical year and leaving it kind of open to renew with them if it's a mutual agreement between the board and the audit firm to renew or to bid again next year and so on, instead of walking into a 3-year contract or such, as we have done in the past, which we know we're not supposed to bind the board in more than a year. So that's why we've rewritten them that way. So we have the audit, and then we have our banking services. We have actually, same concept, we have continued in like 1-year increment renewals with traditional bank, but being where rates stand, where they are. The board could so choose to continue that as well in the 1-year increment with them, but we felt it was due diligence that at this point, with how rates have such drastically increased, that to be good stewards of our dollars, we put that bid out for multiple banks to submit bids and see what comes back for our depository fund, our normal operating account. And then with that, we have also discussed, one, we have pretty hefty sum of bond funds that we just received that we need to invest while we have them for the next 2 years until the project is done. So we're requesting 2 different investment proposals, one for the bond proceeds, and we need that to be kind of very structured in the sense of the way earning money on borrowed federal dollars is a very tricky situation. I don't know the right word to use, but you don't really want to earn more money than you're borrowing at the rate in all reality, because then you're making money on federal dollars. So and if you finish your project in the 2 years, it's not a problem, but if we extend out past that, it becomes kind of an issue that we need to be tracking the interest we earn. And so I've kind of structured that to say that we want a fixed rate, because if it's a variable rate, it's something I'm going to have to track the daily rate of. I really prefer not to do that. So we have asked that it become that proposal basically that it's a fixed rate, and it has to be layered to follow our construction draw schedule, because we've got to have the funds available to be able to pay our contractors for the project. So there's the bond proceeds, and then we are also asking that the board allow us to bid investment for our operating dollars, for the excess funding that we have on our operating account, instead of it just sitting liquid, that we also do an investment proposal for those funds. So the negotiable of the amount that the board would like to invest is the up for discussion piece. Obviously, the bond funds are kind of fixed that we have this amount, and then we'll structure it with that. But Mr. Howard and I spoke, we're comfortable with investing $5 million, but I know we kind of had a private conversation that maybe we're not, when we spoke with the chair and the vice chair, that maybe you all are not quite comfortable with $5 million, but
So this is
So where
this
are
is
we?
basically a contingency fund that we're talking about.
Essentially,
and
yes,
taking
sir.
part of that contingency fund and investing it in a fund that brings interest to the district instead of it just sitting there.
yeah. We only have so many ways of earning money, so
Yeah.
this would be a way of earning money for the district.
Yeah, and I think it's a great way to, to help the taxpayers and help the public if we can, help take our money and use that money, make money for the district. So, does that figure have to be decided on tonight?
It does need to be decided on.
Because that's going to be in the
Because
bid.
I'm gonna have, yeah, that's gonna be in the bid and I'd like to get these posted by Friday so we can get them back to have for the next meeting.
So where do we stand in the contingency fund based upon the approvals we did tonight, which I think most of it, one was ESSER.
One was ESSER, so you're, I don't have the balance in front of me on the monthly financial report. It's a little over 6 million. So you just now brought it down close to 5 million with, like we're at 5.5-ish probably. But again, that is money that is not going to go, that's not so the contingency in your cash flow is not really the same thing. Like, we have more cash flowing sitting in the bank, the way
Yeah, we
our
do.
revenue
That's what
comes
you're
in and
saying.
our expenditures go out.
Okay.
The contingency item is the piece that we will hopefully never touch. You never want to go below 2%, obviously, which for our budget, 2% is, under 2 million.
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable at trying to stay at 10%, which we're still at. I mean, we're,
Close to it.
close, we're getting really close to 10%.
Yeah.
But, so
Okay.
we can pull back off that 5 million easily. I mean, that's,
you all, you live it. I mean, if you're comfortable with 5 million, and Ms. McCoy, do you see any there's anything that we need to consider here?
Not on that, I would defer to finance.
Okay.
I mean, the worst case scenario is if for some reason our cash flow turns into a situation is we pull out of whatever we're invested in and we have a penalty for it,
Yeah.
instead of getting the full benefit of our earnings on it. I mean, that's the consequence. But at the lowest point in my 7 years here, at the lowest point that we have ever had a cash balance in the bank is 10 million. We've never gone below 10 million in the bank. So,
I'm good at 5 million.
No,
No, you're not. I mean, it's open discussion.
that just stresses me.
But like she says, it's not like it's tied up. We would be if we got into an emergency situation. It's there. But There would be a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, there will be a penalty to pull out of whatever investment if you pull out before the time frame. But again,
What if, I can't remember what we said when we were talking, didn't we say we could do so much for so long and then add more?
well, and I'm asking for it to be like a 1 to 3 year layered period with coming due every 3 to 6 months. So it's not locking down $5 million forever. I mean, it's still gonna be kind of a layered investment. So I wanna see what proposals come back to us. You know, it's kind of almost an open-ended
So what if
request
we
of.
I'll make
split
a
that and did
motion.
2.5? Hold your horses there, Ben.
Sorry, you're gonna ask some more questions?
If we split that and did like 2.5 and then in 6 months, if everything's going well,
That's an
you could
option.
add another
You
2.5.
could go
That's
the
an
other way too,
option.
you could do 5, and if it wasn't going well, 3 months, you go to
Are
5.
you trying?
Yeah, so
We're
you,
arguing semantics.
Just
Yeah.
asking to submit proposals right now.
yeah, right now
Yeah,
we're
right.
just doing
And we don't even
proposals.
have, yeah, so if it comes back and we don't want the 5 million, we can not do the
Yeah,
the
I mean, we
proposals at all.
can see what comes back, because the way I have it written is 1 to 3 years layered to be due every 3 to 6 months. So,
And the good thing with 3 months is you're gonna get money back every 3 months.
Yeah.
The reason we're doing this
Yeah.
is because interest rates are so high right now. It would be almost irresponsible not to do something. Again, I'm not gonna dictate. Actually, you know, I didn't go off school one day, so I'm not saying I'm a gambler, I'm a good student of money, but, that's what we're doing. I've also talked to several other superintendents that haven't done this, that will start doing this now. I don't wanna throw them out to the public, but one is my mentor, and he's pretty daggone good with money, so. But if you guys wanted to layer it, again, I'm fine with that, but that would be in our recommendation, but we're good with, you know, if you, again, I think we're fine with 5, but if you feel better with 4 or 3, 2, 4, whatever you get. But that's our opinion. My recommendation would be 5, but you guys, that's one of your big jobs is with money, so I get it.
Well, and
So,
I guess I was stuck on, I'm sorry, I was stuck on the contingency, that if we was only investing contingency, we're actually investing our operating
It's
capital.
the whole
It's
thing is our
operating
operating budget.
Which, in 7 years,
And
you
when
said
it's-
has not even seen it below 10
yeah, I've
million.
never seen our cash flow in the bank go below 10 million in my time here.
I just wanna make sure, I'm gonna say it back, make sure I understand this. So you wanna take out of our contingency that is sitting in the bank right now, which is over $10 million, we wanna take 5 million of that and invest it into something. We wanna get bids to see what it would be like
Yes,
to
so
invest it.
we're requesting proposals, but it's our cash flow, not our contingency.
Our
con-
cash flow.
It's the cash flow in the bank. So
I made
the
that
excess
mistake.
cash.
And
In the
that
bank
would
is
be a
what
fixed
we're-
rate also, correct?
Well, it depends on what
We,
I mean, I didn't ask for a fixed rate on that. I asked for whatever proposals they put in place. I would assume, just from my knowledge of investments, which is very limited, but, that when you structure it in 3 to 6 months, like that time frame is a fixed rate. Like there's fixed rate.
so we would know that this
Pieces.
amount would get, say, right now, a lot of people are getting 4+%.
For 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Okay, so, and right now, you're asking for us to approve a bid to see what it would look like?
Just a proposal to solicit proposals, yes.
Okay,
There is no commitment at this point
okay.
until all proposals come back.
We
and
just
then
have to have a number to ask them to bid it, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense, okay.
Go, Ben.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for proposals for audit, primary banking, and investment banking services.
Can I add just one thing to your,
Yeah.
and the investment operating to be $5 million?
And investment operating.
You add that in there, didn't you? Then just leave it be.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Dorsey. I'll second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's just a proposal.
I
Did you
said
want-
aye.
okay.
I know,
It passes
we're
5-0.
both
Want to
just,
clarify, make sure it's recorded. huh?
Yeah, it passes 5-0.
It wasn't as
Operating.
stunky of an eye
Investment, the operation
as
investment.
earlier, but that's just,
I wrote back.
yeah.
It's okay. I knew it.
Yeah, there was 2. One was bond proceeds, which was fixed rate, and then the other one was the operation investment.
Let's just say that this is Ben's first motion.
Those are good.
It's a good one, all right.
Welcome aboard, sir.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, next to staff retention and recruitment. Next item is request approval of revised food service pay scale to begin July 1st, 2023. Ms. Lyle.
Hello. I'm coming to you tonight to request the pay schedule that you guys had received with the uploads from Ms. Smith. It's the pay scale for 2023-24 starting July 1. Basically, what I'm asking is for the increases as you see across the board there. Another thing that we are looking at to try to help with recruitment and retention, because we are having severe trouble right now, well, we have been ever since COVID, with having enough staff and keeping staff. And these ladies are working themselves to the bone every single day, short-staffed every single day. And so we have to come up with new and different ways to try to get staff interested in working for us and then stay working for us. At this point right now, we even have staff leaving food service and going to other areas within the school district. And that breaks my heart that we can't keep our folks in their food service job that they love because we simply just can't pay them. So that's where this all came from, was us kind of putting our heads together and kind of coming up with ways that we feel like will help us in the future. And so we've also looked at increasing days for the managers and assistant managers. They would be going from a 181-day contract to a 187-day contract, which, as you know, that would help increase their salary. Also increasing hours for assistant managers from 7 to 7.5 hours a day. And then increasing hours for cooks from 6 to 7 as an option. Right now, we aren't employing any cooks for over 6 hours. So this would give us the option, if we need to, which we do, to offer somebody 7 hours a day, which then gives them 10 more hours on a paycheck. So that's huge for some people, especially because I have people that also have to take second jobs. And so if I'm able to offer them 7 hours a day instead of 6, that could be enough with this pay rate increase to keep them working with us. And so that's my rationale behind what I've come for here today. One thing I do want to say, and this is just for public knowledge, most of the board members know this, but we do have some new ones. But for the public too, to realize that food service is a self-operating operation. We do not get any funds from the general fund. Every dime we have to put into our staff, to put into our equipment, repairs, anything that happens on the food service side is with the money that we generate within our own program. That is something I think that needs to be said, just so that folks understand, we're not asking for funds out of general fund. We generate our own funds. And so that's how we know, what we're operating on and what we can operate with. We also pay the general fund indirect costs every month. And so that comes out of the food service operations budget to go towards indirect costs that we pay the general fund. So just kind of wanted to get those points out there to help folks in the public understand how food service operation works. Another thing is that USDA requires us to put all of our profits back into the program. We are not allowed to sit on money and just let it grow and grow and grow. You're not allowed to operate within 3 months operating expenses. When you do that, you get a nice little letter that says, tell us how you're going to put this money back into your operations and get yourself back down to 3 months operating expenses. Those things that are allowed, the way that we can use those things are putting our money into our staff, increasing our salaries. We can purchase equipment, we can pay for repairs, we can increase food quality. All those things are things that we do every year. But the one thing that we've kind of had to, in my mind, been held back on is not being able to pay the staff a fair rate.
I have one question, and just to comparing Baker and RDC and why the decision was made to make one 22% and one 24% when basically they have the same number of kids in their school. So
the RDC manager also manages Phoenix Academy.
okay. Okay, gotcha.
So when we put these percentages in last year, that was the reasoning behind the 2% more, because they do double reports, double inventories, double everything, because they manage that, feeding those children down at Phoenix.
Okay. Thank you, that makes sense. So,
And you feel comfortable that your
Yes,
department
I-
can support
yes.
this?
I wouldn't come and ask if I didn't.
Well, I mean, what a few years makes, you know?
Yes, and I will say this too, you know, when we feed kids, we make money. And so that just goes to show you, you all know how, in dire straits food service was back during COVID. It's because we weren't able to feed all of our kids. You know, we did everything that we could, trying to get as many meals out there as we could. But it just goes to show that when we feed our kids, you know, we bring money in.
Any more questions or discussion?
No, I'll make a motion to approve revised food service pay scale to begin July 1st, 2023.
We have a motion by Ms. Ritchie, we have a second.
second.
Second by Ms. Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Becky.
Okay, next item,
Thank you for feeding our
Thank you all.
children.
we'll give you a second if y'all. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Just give everybody a second to kind of filter out. Okay, next item, consider approval of wage study proposal and salary table change for the office support positions.
So, the next grouping of positions in our wage study journey is our office support position. So this includes our staff that directly work in the school offices here at Central Office, our secretaries, our attendance clerks, our receptionists, all of our central office, which has several different names. You can see those all on the pay scale. So during this wage study, it became very apparent that we have a plethora of job titles and positions and pay scales. And looking at all of the other school districts, they do not. They are very pared down at the other school districts to secretaries 1 and 2s, admins 1 and 2s. So we kind of went that direction, and what we're proposing to you tonight, we're basically proposing that we take those multitude of positions and pare them down into administrative 1, 2, 3 for our school level and central office secretary positions, which wraps in our attendance clerks and our receptionists. And then we have an administrative 4 as our superintendent secretary, because she is her own person, because she is very special for us. And then we have the other positions that we've had already existing in our district at central office level is our department specialist, our department analyst, our accounting manager. We have our technology trainers, and then our technology network specialists. So this is our technology office grouping of folks. So are there any specifics that you want to go into?
Well, I know we've talked about this, but just for public, this will go back and fix. I know there are the attendance clerks that were kind of forgotten.
So
along
the
way.
attendance clerks have been on the attendance clerks and our receptionists have been on the lowest pay scale of where we stand right now. They are the lowest pay line at the moment. So yes, this kind of wraps them up into the higher pay scales and kind of equalizes them back to some of the other secretary office positions and pulls them up. So you're gonna see the way they have been categorized, there are going to be certain positions who get a higher raise than other positions, trying to equalize and pull those jobs back together for how they service their schools or their departments in central office. So what we're proposing is we have a lot of job descriptions that are in positions anywhere from 181s to 191s to 200s to 220s. I mean, their days are kind of all over the place. Some are 7, some are 7.5, some are 8. So out of this proposal, it also became very apparent that most office staff is 8 hours a day at all the other schools. Most of them operate at 8 hours, and so we're proposing that all positions in this area would be 8 hours a day. We're also proposing that the least amount of days would be 200. This allows principals to help kind of stagger those days past the school days into the summer to have coverage of having people in their buildings during the summer, because it doesn't completely stop operations during the summer just because school shuts down. Now, with that being said, just because we're saying that's the max of what each of these positions is going to offer is 200 or 220s in 8 hours, if there is someone currently in one of these roles of how we're wrapping them into these positions that says, I like my 181, I like my 7 or my 7.5, I don't want to work this, that is something they can work with their principal, their director, and if they're comfortable staying at that contract, as long as they're employed with us, they can stay at that. They'll kind of be grandfathered in at that role instead of being forced up to working 200 days.
But they would get that.
But they would get this pay rate.
Okay.
Now, any new person coming on after that person leaves who wants to stay at the lesser days, the expectation would be that they graduate up to the 208 hours
Yep.
per future.
Okay, yeah. I think I actually got an email from somebody about that today, so thanks for that.
Absolutely.
So on the, I'm looking at that on my computer because
Okay, yes.
I can't see that. So, but where it says like administrative assistant 1, administrative assistant 2, and then there's schools listed there.
Yes.
So does that mean if I'm a secretary or an attendance clerk at an elementary school, it's different than if I am an attendance clerk at RDC?
Correct.
Okay.
So the rationale behind that is our preschool, elementary, and Baker, we're suggesting that they be administrative 1s. Your elementaries and your preschool each have 2 front office staff.
Okay.
And they have, anywhere from 300 to 500 enrolled students.
Mhm.
And then when you get to Baker, they have 4 front office staff for not quite doubled the enrollment, but they have 4 people. So the rationale is Baker stays on that 1 because they're double the employees that the other schools have.
Okay.
And then you jump up to administrative 2, we're saying RDC, GRC, and Phoenix is being wrapped into that due to the nature of their building. RDC has 4, GRC has 8. So again, enrollment status increase. The difference of Baker and RDC has all the athletics, all the student activity. There's extra work there that they do in that regards as far as their office dealing with stuff than Baker does. So that was the rationale of jumping them up to the 2. And then your 3 is your central office or district secretary, administrative assistants now because they deal with the entire district.
Right.
They're operating with the entire district, touching every school and department. So that was kind of the reasoning behind 1, 2, 3.
We also thought it was a great hierarchical way too for someone to work their way up. So if you were a bookkeeper, you still have an opportunity to
Right. And then the department specialist, let's say at RDC and GRC, what's an example of a department
So those
specialist?
are going to be the ladies for those schools that specifically handle the finances. So they each have someone dedicated specifically to all the finance stuff where they do deposits, they do all the purchasing. And so they're just, we're considering them kind of wrapping them into finance because they're doing a lot of the same finance work that my girls do here, but at the school level.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Have any questions? Comments?
I would like to make a motion to approve the wage study proposal and salary table change for the office support positions.
I have a motion by Ms. Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ritchie. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0.
Thank you all.
Thanks for the work.
Thank you all.
Yeah, and
Thank you all for all your hard work.
just again, I just want to brag on our people. It's long overdue. We got there, go-karts. And our people working on it, you don't know the amount of intentionality and hours.
Sure.
So I just want to brag on Alicia, her staff, and Tammy.
Yeah, those
you all.
4 leaving right there are superstars.
Yes, they are. I hired 2 of them.
Yeah.
Thank
It's
you
not
all.
that
And Miss Brittany Harper sent me a message and said she could not be here, but that she was very appreciative and loves her job. So I thought that was great. She said that before the meeting. So, yeah.
So you'll also see Alicia and I come back with new job descriptions because now that these jobs have been funneled into one, We're gonna actually get the supervisors together and the bookkeepers, well now new administrative personnel together. And we're gonna talk about the fluidity of their positions, and we're gonna create new job descriptions. So that way we'll inactivate the old ones, and then we'll bring the new ones to you all for approval.
Okay,
So-
awesome. All right. Next item is consider approval of Level Up Round 1 revisions.
All right,
Dr.
y'all might get tired of seeing this because it's going to be a good living document, but we've made some changes already. So the technology department, Mr. Kaysen went back and worked with his colleagues and added a couple things that were specific to the district and district goals. And then in the maintenance department, we removed the supervisor exclusion from being able to level up as well. So those are the two major changes that we made.
Any discussion? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the Level Up Round 1 revisions. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bennett second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
All
Thank you.
right. This next one I have to contain my excitement on.
Okay, consider approval of the MOU and MOA.
Yes, so this is our first Option 9 partnership. So we have a partnership with EKU where our employees get a discounted rate for joining either a cadre or just taking online courses for a master's degree or a bachelor's degree. So we do have a corporate partnership with them, but this will be our first district Option 9 MOA. So the memorandum of understanding is for the accelerated route to obtaining a teaching certificate. So Option 9 allows our classified employees to go to school online after hours and on the weekends to finish a bachelor's degree in 3 years. So the first 2 years will be all online schooling, and it is all year long. Campbellsville's rate is unbelievable. I've not seen anything this cheap. Based on what you want to enroll in, it's anywhere from $285 up to $300.
Wow.
Yes.
A credit hour?
A credit hour, yes.
Phenomenal.
It is amazing. So really excited that we asked for that discount and got it. So the memorandum of understanding is the first document you have. Also in there are each of the 3 programs. So the memorandum of agreements, which we're pretty excited about this too, is because no other university that we've talked to so far has a preschool program. So Campbellsville University has the IEC. I think I heard a cheer from the second row. Yeah, we're pretty desperate for some preschool teachers right now, and we actually sent out a survey about a month ago asking about interest in the Option 9 program, and we have over 50 classified employees already inquiring about enrolling in the Option 9 program. So talk about helping with the teacher shortage. Like I said, they take classes for 2 years. The 3rd year is kind of like an internship where they do their student teaching. So it's very much hands-on, even the 3rd year or so. So we have a memorandum of agreement for IECE, which is preschool, and then we have a P5. So it really covers our elementary schools and Baker, because that means that they can be certified to teach at Baker as well as an intermediate school. And then the last one we have is really exciting as well, is a memorandum of agreement for special education LBD, which we have several emergency certified teachers this year, so this would really help with our special ed department.
It's awesome, and all this is with Campbellsville.
This is all with Campbellsville University, so I talked to Dr. Allen. They're going to take it before EPSB and put us, if you all approve tonight, put us on their April board meeting, so we'll be approved by the end of April, and our employees can start enrolling in May and take their first class in July.
It's awesome.
It's very exciting.
Any kind of questions or comments? All right, well, I'd like to make a motion to approve memorandum of understanding and the memorandum of agreements with Campbellsville University.
Second.
And second by Ms. Ritchie. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. All right, next up on the list, superintendent's report. Mr. Howard.
Yes, sir. So a couple things I want to update you guys on. See if I can pull up my notes. So three big things. The first one is we have a student advisory council. So for those of you who do not know, this is kind of our pilot year for that. We took applications, so kids that were interested could apply. Started with high school right now. We'll look at expanding that into different schools next year, but didn't want to try to eat the whole elephant while we're doing so many other things. But I like our kids, so I want to be around them. So the first meeting we had was in January. brag on Ms. Becky and things gone, but they actually got to try new food menus for the cafeteria, had input on what was good, what was really good, cereal bars. Were able to have input on that, so it was great. They also identified some things they want to work on as a group. Today, they actually came out. I had a couple board members, so they got to understand what central office is a little more about. I got to meet almost all of our directors, so I got like some good feedback with people getting to see kids in the building, and realizing how flipping awesome that is. So, also went and visited the bus garage. So we got 24 across all creeds, all backgrounds. So we tried to get a very good representation. I could see there's something moving forward that the board could be a little more involved with once we could make it a little more structured. We do want to brag on the mayor, judge executive, and Industrial Park, Brad. They're actually going to host us next month down at City Hall. So we'll take the kids down there and talk about things they want in the community to make things better. So that, someone's point earlier, not only did they graduate with a high quality education, but they come back here and live and raise their kids here. So that's the vision, that's what we're trying to do. So a little update on Superintendent Council. Also, tomorrow we'll be opening up applications for the Hall of Fame Committee. We'll get those things out. We'll also have copies at the front. So version number 2 for those of us 4, you'll enjoy this. But this time, those folks will be making decisions. So I want to get people more involved in putting up the people who are going to make the decisions. It was pretty restricted at first, and now that's on me. I made that decision so we could get it moving on. We've been in the school system for 100 years and don't have one, so I didn't want to put it off anymore. So it's done. We've got 18 nominees with this committee. So please, if you're out there, if you want to be a part of this, again, really try to focus on academics, job, career. Yeah, athletes too, but we need folks to be involved with that process. So that will be out tomorrow, and then March 15th is a big training day for us. We are having district-wide training with Kagan, iReady. The counselors have a cadre, and the other neat thing, we do have business leaders in the industrial park that are hosting and want to host every counselor in our district. So we're going to get on a big yellow bus, and we're going to go visit some people. Companies right here in Clark County that need employees, need our kids now. And yes, we can try to get kids, and we will later, but the best conduit to getting a kid a job is typically their counselor. The counselors don't know what's available and don't know what companies are out there, what job sets. So we're going to tighten that up, and really want to thank Industrial Park and Brad for that opportunity. So that's the updates on my end.
So the Hall of Fame Committee applications are going to be starting tomorrow. What about the nominees for the Hall of Fame?
So
Committee?
we're going to
Not
open
the
up
committee, but the Hall of
sure,
Fame.
the committee will close right before spring break. We'll get those folks selected, and then we will open up applications July 1. So that'll give that committee time to make sure they're comfortable with the bylaws that we use, the qualifications we use. And that typically, when you get a larger group together, takes a little bit of time. So we want to allow them a couple months to get that done. Again, encourage everyone to submit not only for this, but when we do open up for nominees for the next class, which will actually be hosted at the GRC football game opening night. We play a doubleheader, so we'll introduce the second half of the class between ball games. So we're excited about that. Coach Jericho, he's really excited to get more people packing Cardinal Stadium for a big, gigantic win to start off the year. So, but if you don't nominate them, you can't complain about who we pick. So get the people on there that we want. So we'll say that publicly too.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Go Cards.
On to the consent agenda items. Any items listed, anyone would like to pull out, discuss? Questions? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Bennett to approve all of the consent agenda items.
Second.
Second by Ms. Ritchie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Okay. Next item is consider adjournment to executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810. Paragraph 1C, discussions of proposed or pending litigations against or on behalf of the public agency and social media litigation. Have a motion? Motion by Ms. Ritchie,
A second.
second by Ms. Hall. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. We now in closed session. Yeah. Let's take